welcome to the channel. Welcome back if you're a current subscriber. Today I'm analyzing the body language of Gypsy Rose as she apologizes to her ex-husband, Ryan Anderson. This particular video comes from a channel with just the name Sam, so I will leave a link to the video in the description box below. Let's get started.
Ryan Anderson, and if you're not Ryan Anderson, then keep scrolling. But I know y'all watch. And that's okay, but this video is not for y'all, it's for him. So I know that it's been about 3 months since we had any kind of text message exchange. And I know it's been really hard for you watching the show for the first time. I know it was all filmed, but I know that you don't. So
first, what we see is some discomfort around the text message exchange, and we know based on recent behaviors and things she said in the public that Ryan has shown everybody that she was texting him, even as she's with her current partner, Ken Euchre. So there's some discomfort possibly because of that, and her texting her ex-husband, Ryan Anderson, about who he's dating when that's not necessarily her business, given she is now with someone else, and she had cheated on Ryan Anderson. But she scratches her nose, indicating some stress there. Typically, our nasal tissue swells a bit when we're stressed, sometimes when we're being deceptive, but in this case, it's just because this text message exchange, and now that being out in the public eye, perhaps gives her some stress because the public can now form an opinion, perhaps negatively, about her. She also looks down a bit. There's some eye accessing around 3 months, but then her chin goes down, protecting that vulnerable part of her body. She's feeling perhaps some level of embarrassment, some shame around that, or even some defensiveness around these text messages. And then there's a tugging at her mouth, indicating some level of discomfort and disagreement, and some jaw shifting that indicates that she is not in agreement with what has taken place.
Oh, I understand that you're reacting to things in real time, just like I am. So I'm sorry for not giving you that grace. I do want to say, like, this is going to be kind of a long video, of me just putting out what's on my heart. And I know that it is hard to watch things that we have said and things that happen, even.
So typically with Gypsy, she stares down the camera, and that is more controlling. If we look and make clear, direct eye contact, that can indicate honesty, but her just staring down the camera would indicate her just wanting to be believed, wanting to be seen as honest, but not actually being honest. As opposed to in this video where she's looking everywhere, her eyes are shifting, and her camera's a bit lower, it seems. So when her head is up, it could be either her feeling some bit of superiority, or in some instances it's just her having the camera angle a little below her. But she's certainly repositioning herself quite a bit, which does indicate some anxiety. It does indicate that she's not comfortable in this part, which does not mean she's being deceptive necessarily, but that there's a lot of discomfort. Now with Gypsy, typically her baseline in most videos is that she is capable of sitting still, of just saying things, of just speaking, and is typically very controlled, looking at the camera, not blinking much. You see very controlled body language, as opposed to in this video where it seems to be a lot of anxiety around perhaps what the public believes about her right now, which is negative if you see her Instagram or TikTok comments, which are now turned off. So some anxiety around that, not a lot of emphatic behaviors. There is this bit where she's talking about in real time she is reacting, and then there's downward glabella furrowing. She does not feel comfortable about this. She feels perhaps some anger and defensiveness around having to put out this apology video, and about what took place where Ryan threw pillows outside his apartment because she called him the public in her Lifetime series. Now, she has said several other things in her Lifetime series that were negative towards him, negative about him, leading the public to believe that he was this negative person and that she was not in fact texting him offline, texting him, asking him who he was dating, if he was dating another creator named Amber J, and what was going on with that, which is not necessarily her business, given that she has cheated on Ryan, that she is no longer with Ryan, that her current partner is Ken Euchre, who she cheated on Ryan with, which is more typical of someone with narcissistic personality disorder, someone who feels that this prior person may belong to them. This with cluster of other behaviors that come from Gypsy indicates narcissistic personality disorder. When it comes to Gypsy, though, she has at least manipulated another man to end the life of her mother, and there was no remorse about that, more aggression about that instead. And her lack of emotion and blink rate around certain instances leads me to believe more that this is sociopathy. And there's some crossover there where some narcissistic characteristics are displayed, even though she is more someone who possibly has antisocial personality disorder, sociopathy.
Even if it was 6, 7, 8 months ago, whatever, I understand that the feelings are happening in real time. And I want you to know that it is extremely hard to watch you have to go through these emotions. And I understand that when you are doing live streams, you're speaking your truth. You're speaking your mind and your peace. And I'm never going to filter you for doing that. But whenever you put out text messages between you and I that I think are sacred, that should, in my
So we certainly see a lot of discomfort around what's taking place and her allegedly not filtering Ryan, her not trying to silence him and keep him from reacting to things that are allegedly taking place in real time. But she's not able to just look at the camera and tell us what's going on. She's very nervous, her hands rubbing. There's some adapters there, a little bit of an adapter there, and her eyes are shifting that direction. Now there's eye accessing, which is more up and to the left or the right, thinking, was it 3 months? Was it within this time frame? What took place back then? And then there's more emotional downward eye accessing, thinking about things, remembering things that might have taken place that may be more emotional. In this case, her eyes are shifting. She shifts her eyes more typically when she is being deceptive, when she's hiding something, not when she's just recalling information and thinking about things. Then there's a subtle bit of duper's delight, her believing that she's going to get away with some deceptive behavior around her saying that there were these sacred messages that were sacred between the two that should not have been put out and now are being put out, and that she believed that they were sacred. Her use of the word sacred, however, is in clash with her behaviors where the marriage with Ryan was not necessarily sacred. It was very public, and then afterwards she put a lot of things out online about him that don't indicate she believed anything of theirs was sacred.
My opinion, be sacred between us. And when I mean sacred, I mean that there are very few people I trust in this world. And I have always counted you as one of them. So whenever I reached out to you when I was 2 weeks postpartum and I didn't know how to handle my emotions, I just had a baby, my whole life changed,
So now she feels the need to define sacred, perhaps because she knows that sacred would typically mean that things were supposed to be between the two, and instead her meaning is that she doesn't trust people typically. This puts her verbally in a position of victimhood, of him betraying her in some manner, where she doesn't typically trust just everyone. She has trusted him to not say anything, and now he's doing so, and she feels perhaps betrayed about this. There's some discomfort, some mouth tugging very slightly. There's a lack of emphasis around a lot of these parts where she says that she didn't trust people. Typically, we would see forehead creasing and upward glabella furrowing, some concern there, some grief there, some emotion around that that's not more downward, more negative. Even though this is a betrayal, she's not emphasizing this. There's no illustrators emphasizing this. Her eyes are all over the place, and just a lack of emphasis where we should see it more duper as the light than her being uncomfortable about the situation, though there is certainly discomfort around the situation, as she's not capable of just telling us, of being confident, and of just telling us the situation without at least verbally falling into this victimhood narrative.
Whole life changed in an instant. And I don't regret having Aurora. I don't. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. But I leaned on you. I leaned on you because I trust you. That is not something a lot of people I can say about. When I felt distant from Ken during those first few weeks postpartum, I vented to you. I told you everything that was on my heart and in my head.
So now she starts to discuss how she had baby Aurora and her whole life changed. Again, this bit of a victimhood narrative, at least verbally. There's some aggression though, some downward glabella furrowing, as she says that her whole life changed and this was the best thing that happened to her. We would normally expect to see someone with more emphasis, more upward eyebrow raising and upward glabella furrowing, some forehead creases, something else going on that's more upward and more positive tonality. More interestingly, prior to this, there was Duper's delight, as opposed to now she's discussing allegedly this positive in her life, but there's no positive tonality. There's more downward glabella furrow and more aggression, more anger, and it seems she's more angry about Aurora being in her life and this positive, her life changing. And life changing could be something negative to a lot of people, of course. Having a baby typically wouldn't be that, but she is also at the same time discussing postpartum feelings and not being able to deal with those feelings. We would see that negative tonality more around that than around this being something that actually happened that was a positive in her life. So there's that clash and incongruency there between where we should have seen these behaviors and where we're not seeing those behaviors. And there's also a reason that this apology to Ryan video was not texted privately to him, even though she's very capable of doing so. This is out in the public, and this seems more manipulative. This is more to get the public to believe, seemingly, that she's the victim in this instance, that she has been betrayed, and this is less of her saying, I'm sorry, Ryan, what I did was wrong, I should not have done this. This being her putting out that he is on methadone, on this treatment for perhaps addiction, for perhaps pain. It could be for a number of reasons, but she has certainly led the public to believe that Ryan is a bad guy, that he is an addict or has been an active addict, and whereas she has actively put out that she drinks, that she smokes, that she does all of these things that also would be considered poor behaviors if you were to categorize bad versus good. Now, I personally don't believe that these are behaviors that make you a bad person, but this is what it seems that Gypsy wants us to believe.
Weird look, and I'm like, I didn't do anything. Like, okay, number one, I didn't kill anybody, and I don't do drugs, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I didn't do nothing. I'm a good girl. And I thought that that was gonna stay between us. Did I tell Ken? Eventually I did. But I never aimed to hurt you. It was never about hurting you. It was always about what the public might think, the public persona, and I think would get...
A lot takes place just in mere seconds of every part of this video, so if I miss something or I don't say something, it's not necessarily because I did not see it, it's because so much takes place in this video. And I'm also trying not to pause so frequently. Here we see, though, asymmetrical eyebrow flash around. Eventually, I told Ken. This lack of confidence and commitment to eventually telling Ken that she had texted Ryan. Now, normally when we raise one eyebrow, that is curiosity or interest in something, that's skepticism perhaps. It's not agreement and commitment and confidence to what you're saying or what's being said. So typically we would not expect to see that around her eventually telling Ken that she texted Ryan. I believe maybe in more recent months or weeks even, she had to tell Ken that she texted Ryan. Perhaps that's why we saw a bit of space and distance, more typical than what we see of the couple over this past weekend. That's just my belief, just based on the behaviors that I'm seeing. But there's certainly not confidence in her saying that she eventually told Ken. There's also more Duper's delight around her saying that this was never to hurt Ryan, this was never aimed to hurt Ryan, and then you see a bit of Duper's delight there. This is one of few instances I can say absolutely she is being deceptive in that part that she did in fact intend to hurt Ryan, which is why she would put out in the first place any personal information about him that might be negative. And we're very much seeing that here with the Duper's delight. Her verbally expressing her intentions weren't to hurt him, though she knows that that is not the case. Interestingly, we also see downward glabella furrowing when she says the public. There's some negative feelings towards the public, which again also is something that she has said Ryan is. She has said on the Lifetime show that she considers him part of the public. She's told Ken she considers him part of the public. So to have this downward glabella furrowing may either be because she feels some anger towards, again, having to put this out because she's called him this, that it caused this reaction from him where he threw out her pillows because she called him the public and not her ex-husband, which takes away and devalues the relationship they had, making him perhaps feel very worthless, and to discredit him in any way, make him this lack of significance in her life, even though she was texting him and saying so much about him. So perhaps the downward glabella furrowing is because she feels anger and betrayal that this even took place, or perhaps she has negative feelings about the public, which can also be possible, but more likely it is because Ryan did throw out her pillows, because he did see her say that and reacted negatively to her saying that he is part of the public.
Me. And I vented this to your mom, is that you have your TikTok personality and then you have the real Ryan Anderson. And those two are two completely different people. So when I see you on TikTok acting the way you do, talking the way you do, doing your polls, that's not the man that I married. The man that I married.
So now we see some illustrators, some emphasis in what she's saying, but that doesn't necessarily mean what she's saying is honest or deceptive, just that she's emphasizing in this part. Now, if there is a lack of emphasis, and there has been in parts of this video, that indicates more that she may be dishonest. If she's over illustrating, distracting from what she's saying, that can also mean that she's being dishonest. We're just seeing some small movements here and there, illustrating what she's saying, and then her eyes going all over the place. Again, this is not eye accessing. She's not remembering, thinking about a date or a time or anything factual or anything emotional. Her eyes are shifting all over the place, and there's some subtle tugging of her mouth, some disagreement and dislike around some things. Now, there was downward glabella furrowing when she mentioned Ryan's mom. That indicates that there is some conflict there, perhaps, that she does not necessarily like, and that with the intense illustrator there, the emphasis there in this manner where it is more of a gripping motion, does indicate more that there is conflict between herself and Ryan Anderson's mother, which makes sense because that is an in-law, that is a former in-law, and we don't always get along with our in-laws, so that doesn't mean anything necessarily except that there may be some conflict there.
Went on Facebook once a month because I asked him to. You didn't do social media. You didn't care. It was never about the public back then. And it's so hard to see what you have become. So yeah, I get mad, I get frustrated, I get angry because I know that that's not you. Where's the person?
So verbally, she's expressing Ryan used to be the man that would do what she asked him to do, which in general is just manipulative, is just exhibiting more narcissistic traits, this loyalty test of, I can do whatever I want, I can cheat on you, but how dare you do anything in opposition of me and you're not loyal to me. And that is more typical of someone with narcissistic personality disorder. Now, interestingly, her eyebrow flashes around, you didn't care, meaning you didn't care about your reputation online. You didn't care about what people thought about online or what I said about you. Perhaps this is all allegedly just my belief based on what I'm seeing as to why there may be some eyebrow raising around you didn't care, and a lot of positive tonality here as she seems to almost laugh at how he has this TikTok personality and this other personality, and they're not this man she married, and that he used to do things for her, and that perhaps brought her some joy. When she starts to express that, of course she's mad. She has that chin jut and the bared teeth, but there's no downward glabella furrowing. She's not fully embodying her emotions in this video. She's just going through the emotions of what she's verbally expressing and not fully embodying those emotions and feeling those emotions. And you see that even with right here where her voice starts to quake a bit, but it's not genuine. It's not natural. There are no tears. There's no sniffling, there's nothing going on. She leans her head back, and there's one point where she looks off to the distance, perhaps thinking about something sad that would prompt her voice to quake and her to start to express this seemingly sad emotion, even though there's no genuine sadness around this part, around where she's saying that, of course she gets angry and upset because he's no longer the man that she married. She has now left him, so it does not make sense for him to be who she married because now she is divorced. And this just further launches her into a victimhood narrative.
That came to visit me when we had an argument and I told you, don't come, and then you showed up anyway. Where's the person that was there for me whenever my parents were on the edge of a divorce? And Christy didn't pick up the phone for 3 weeks. And you were all I had. You think I forgot about that? I haven't. I hate that we keep doing this back and forth, trying to hurt each other.
So her eyes continue to shift all over the place. Of course, she's not just confidently telling us what took place. Now, when someone's crying, I would not expect them to stare down the camera, as she has before. I wouldn't expect for them to look at the camera very frequently. Now, I'm not really seeing too many genuine tears here, but she is certainly starting to tear up more, feeling a little more sorrow for herself. There is more genuine sorrow towards this man not being there for her any longer, Ryan not being the person that would pick up the phone and be there for her and just run when she calls for him to. And then she expresses, you think I forgot about that? I haven't. Which seems to be her guiding the audience to believe that there's some gratitude around that when she has not expressed gratitude verbally. And instead we see a lot of more inward sorrow towards herself around not having this man that would come when she called, or when she told him even not to come, he would still run to her. There's not emphasis where we should see it. No eyebrow flashes, no forehead creasing where we should see it. Now, this is a more sorrowful feeling, so we typically wouldn't see the uplifting of features, and that makes sense. So she's not being deceptive because of this lack of eyebrow flashing or forehead creasing in this instance. But of course, the sorrow is more inward, more about her and her not having this man with her that does what she has requested he do. And instead, the sense of betrayal. There is a slight eyebrow flash around her parents getting divorced and her head sideways. There's not a lot of confidence and certainty when she says that, perhaps some shame as her head is more downward. It's difficult to tell in this video because her camera is angled a little bit beneath her, so her chin being up or down has to be very pronounced for that to really mean anything in this case.
Each other, but we're not trying to hurt each other, we're trying to hurt each other's reputations. I hate the fact that we are trying to be at war with each other. But I know I just want the best for you. I want you to be happy. I want you to move on. I want you to move on with someone that's going to make you happy, that's going to love you like you should be loved. And I know that it's hard because I get it. I did you wrong, and I'm sorry for that. But every time we would text each other, every time we would talk on the phone, you wouldn't really bring that up. We were civil, if not even friendly.
So more illustrators there, more emphatic movements, but not a lot of eyebrow flashing again or forehead creasing around specific parts of this until she says that I'm sorry. This I'm sorry could be a genuine apology towards Ryan for hurting him, but given that she expressed Jupiter's delight around this not being aimed to hurt him and her intent not being to hurt him, it is more likely that she is sorry that this has been public, that now the public can form a negative opinion about her. In a lot of this though, there's more downward glabella furrowing, more perhaps anger and aggression towards this feeling of being betrayed. A lot of the behaviors in this video are her feeling betrayed because Ryan threw out her pillows and was angry, publicly expressed that he didn't like being called the public when he was her ex-husband. He should have meant more in her life, and around the text messages being leaked that she was indeed texting him. And this apology video is not her genuinely sorry that she hurt Ryan. It's that she did intend to hurt Ryan. That was the entire point of putting out his medical information online, that she did intend to hurt him and that he betrayed her, that she feels betrayed, that he used to be this man that she could genuinely come to and expected extreme loyalty from, that she doesn't like that he's this person online that isn't obedient to her, isn't favorable to her, and she expresses verbally that the man that she knows is someone who would be extremely loyal and perhaps very silent, not online, who only went on Facebook for the sake of her and didn't care about social media, therefore does not currently care about social media and his following, but cares more about hurting Gypsy and putting herself in this victimhood narrative, this entire betrayal towards herself where he should not be online, he should be there for her. But there's this eyebrow flash around sorry, emphasizing she is sorry, maybe not towards him, hence why this video is public and not privately messaged for him only.
So yeah, I am sorry that in all of this confusion and anger and disappointment, that seeing that text message that you released for what? For what? Because you wanted to show that you are the truth teller on TikTok? Well, that hurt my trust. And so yes, in turn, I put out personal information of yours that I knew that you didn't want out.
Now verbally she expresses, I'm sorry, but she does not follow that up with, I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry this affected you. Instead she says, I'm sorry there was this text message. I'm sorry there was this text message leaked, but this is why I did it. It's because I was hurt. I was confused. It's because I expected you to be there for me still as you were prior. I didn't expect this change in behavior and this perhaps betrayal. Verbally, she's expressing this. Her eyes continue to shift all over the place. Again, not eye accessing, but instead just not confidently looking at the camera and expressing, I'm sorry I hurt you, which is what this video was allegedly supposed to be. This, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do this. We're hearing instead verbally and seeing expressed this lack of confidence in being able to say that. Some shame perhaps around this being leaked to the public and now this negative narrative around her because Ryan has now betrayed her. Some of her behaviors are also taken and mirrored from other people around her, and she has had her buddy, Bree, around her a lot lately, and perhaps some of these behaviors are a mirror and they're not genuine. They're certainly not genuine. There's not eyebrow flashing and upward glabella furrowing or forehead creasing where we should see it, and part of this very clip right here. And it seems more that she has taken on now this attitude that is more typical of her buddy Bree.
For what? Out there. And it was wrong, and it was below the belt, and it was too far, and I'm sorry. I truly am sorry. Even if you give me many other jabs, I won't put out anything else about you.
Even this, in this part, there's some contempt around her saying that she's sorry, saying that it was below the belt. Not a lot of emphasis in illustrators there. There's a bit of upward glabella furrowing around her, again, her being sorry that this took place, but perhaps not sorry for hurting him, that this has come out. She says that it was wrong, it was below the belt. It was wrong, it was below the belt. There are no emphatic behaviors, no illustrators, nothing going on. Her being still while her eyes are shifting, her not illustrating, her not emphasizing in that way or with her eyebrows typically would mean that she does not mean it, she's not saying it with confidence, that she is perhaps being deceptive.
I'm not going to try to hurt you. I know that in your heart you care about me. I know in your heart that you are a good person. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry that you fell in love with a piece of like me.
There's certainly some self-pity here, as the sorrow is, again, more inward, more about her. She verbally expresses that she is a bad person, but interestingly, prior to this, she says that she knows that he is a good person. There's downward glabella furrowing, and that bit of aggression and contempt there towards him being a good person, as she does not want, perhaps, him to be believed as a good person. Again, the whole point of her putting out his medical information, because she wants the public to believe that he's not a good person, and at the same time, verbally expressing that he used to be there for her and genuinely be a good person. This categorization of a good person would be loyal to me, and you used to be that, and now you are not that, you're a bad person, and her saying you're a good person, though she does not believe it, she's not indicating that with her downward glabella furrowing, that should be more upward, you're a good person, and you should see the forehead creasing and the eyebrow flash around that, or upward glabella furrowing around that, around emphasizing that. Some illustrators around, you're a good person. We are not seeing those behaviors. We're seeing the opposite, and then clash with her saying that, and her not wanting to even say that he's a good person or believing that he's a good person. And in this pity, as she does not just say, I am so sorry you fell in love with someone who is like me, who's exhibiting poor behaviors. I will do better. That's perhaps what we should see, and instead we're seeing her express some self-pity here, and the sorrow is more inward, more towards her being this bad person and saying she's a bad person. Perhaps she wants the audience to believe there's accountability in this, that she's calling herself this because she is genuinely sorry, that she feels that she should be held accountable. But she looks away from the camera, the sorrow is more inward, and it is genuine sorrow. It's just not towards hurting Ryan, where we saw the dupers, the light, the smirking, the more positive energy around this not being an intent to hurt him, and her being deceptive there as opposed to what we are seeing now.
I always said Ken was my love, is my love. But you were my comfort. You were my safe place because I knew that you never would hurt me. And I'm just tired of this war, and I want it to end. I don't know what you think the alternative could be between you and I. That's where I get stuck at, is I can't keep...
So it becomes more of a shrugging behavior, an uncertain behavior when she says, Ken was the person that I love. Ken is the person I love. This uncertainty around this, and her eyes shifting again, continuing to not look at the camera and express confidence in this, and then there's eyebrow flashing and glabella, upward glabella furrowing around, and forehead creasing around. I want this to end. I'm tired of this. Again, this being this whole betrayal to her, seemingly, that Ryan has put all of this information about her out online, that she doesn't want him to put any more information out about her online where the public can express a negative opinion about her, and she does indeed want it to end. And we see what we should see around other instances in that instance where she says, and I just want it to end. And there wasn't as much emphasis around her not doing this, even if he does continue to take jabs at her. Now, there are a few other things I wanted to note here. It is human for people to not want the public or others around them to believe negatively about them. That is human, and a lot of the reactions from both Gypsy and Ryan seem a bit disproportionate to what has taken place. However, Gypsy has said a lot of negative things about Ryan on her Lifetime show, online. She has led the people around her to believe that Ryan is a bad person, that he has done a lot to her, when in reality she has cheated on him and had a baby with another man. But he has now thrown pillows out of his apartment because she called him the public. This really invokes a lot of feelings of worthlessness, though. If you have genuinely cared about someone, been there for someone, as she has stated that he has been, and done so much for them, married them, and enjoyed a life with them, only for them to turn around and tell everybody that you weren't worth anything, that you don't really mean anything in comparison to other people, you are not more significant than others. She has told people that he is basically not significant to her in her life in comparison to the rest of the world, and that can make him feel worthless. Him putting out pillows and things of hers out of his apartment, which I'm almost certain he has since gone and retrieved, because that is littering, that is junk, that is most likely in violation of a policy of that place, but this has affected her in a seemingly major way. What this tells me is that there might be a lot more coming out that she does not want out there, or this has bruised her perhaps narcissistic ego. Now, I'm not a licensed psychologist. I've studied psychology since I was 17 years old, but I cannot firmly diagnose her in any capacity. I just believe, based on the behaviors that I've seen from her, that she does have antisocial personality disorder, and with that comes an ego the level of someone with narcissistic personality disorder. There is that crossover. There is a narcissistic ego, and him just putting pillows out and things of hers out after all that she has done can be a major betrayal to her. These text messages that she indicates are significant in some manner, those being leaked, and her feelings of shame around that tell me that that was the real betrayal, that people online were not supposed to know that she had been texting him, and that was a huge betrayal to her. Nobody likes their text messages leaked, but this war, this extreme use of the word war, is because she feels a major betrayal around these messages being leaked and people now knowing that this wasn't all one-sided, that Ryan wasn't just talking about her continuously as she has stated that he has, that she has actually been prompting him to do so offline. And this could be a major betrayal. This could be damage to a narcissistic ego, perhaps. This could be truly what's going on and not just an average person being upset because someone leaked their text messages, because people are feeling negatively towards them, or because Ryan's no longer there for her, even though he is now her ex-husband. And she puts him in this place of this use of hers verbally. He's her comfort person, even though Ken is something else of use to her, making them these objects to her and these tools for her to use as she needs them. And Ryan's throwing out the pillows and leaking those text messages has sent her this message that he is no longer serving her in that manner, and that is a huge betrayal to her. All of this more typical of someone with narcissistic personality disorder, but given the number of behaviors that display aggression, lack of remorse, that are more sociopathic, again tells me that she has sociopathy. Again, I can't formally diagnose her, just what I'm seeing based on her behaviors, based on the use of certain words, the lack of emphasis around I won't hurt you, I didn't mean to hurt you, and more emphasis around I want this to stop, more emphasis around and sorrow around her being the victim of this man who is no longer of use to her, who is no longer loyal to her, even though she had not been loyal to him. I'm going to end this here. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments section. There may be a number of things that I've missed, but not because I didn't see them necessarily, more because this is lengthy enough, because there's a wealth of things to analyze here, and because I'm not trying to stop so frequently. So please let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Thank you for watching.